Marcus Hill ripped open the plastic bag and 30 cigarette butts spilled onto the balcony floor. Behind him, Elena Wright stood frozen in the doorway. "Get out of my house!" Her voice was ice. Her hands were shaking. Marcus didn't move. He held up the bag. "How long?" "I said get out." "How long have you been killing yourself, Miss Wright?" Elena's face crumbled. She grabbed the doorframe like her legs might give out. "You have no idea what you've done," she whispered. "No idea what this will cost me." She was right. He didn't know. But he was about to find out. "Comment the city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels." "Daddy, why do you always leave when I go to sleep?" Marcus Hill froze with his hand on the doorknob. Amy stood in the hallway barefoot, clutching the stuffed rabbit her mother had given her 3 years ago. The rabbit was falling apart now, one ear held on by thread, the stuffing leaking from a hole in its belly, but Amy refused to let anyone fix it. "I have to work, sweetheart." "But it's dark outside." "I know." "Mommy never worked when it was dark." Marcus felt something twist in his chest. He knelt down so he was eye level with his daughter. "Mommy's not here anymore," he said gently. "So Daddy has to work extra hard. You understand?" Amy's lower lip trembled. "I don't want you to go." "I know, baby. I don't want to go either." His mother appeared in the hallway behind Amy, her housecoat wrapped tight around her shoulders. She gave Marcus a look, the same look she'd been giving him for 3 years. The one that said, "This isn't sustainable. Something has to change." "Come on, Amy," his mother said. "Let's get you back to bed." "But I want Daddy to stay." "Daddy will be here when you wake up. He always is." Marcus kissed his daughter's forehead and stood up. He couldn't look at her face as he walked out the door. If he did, he wouldn't be able to leave. The drive to Westwood Tower took 23 minutes. Marcus spent every one of them thinking about his daughter's question. "Why do you always leave when I go to sleep?" "Because I clean rich people's apartments so you can have food on the table." "Because your mother's medical bills drained every penny we had." "Because this is the only job that pays enough and works around your school schedule." "Because I'm doing the best I can and it's still not enough." He pulled into the underground parking lot at 10:47 p.m. The same time. Every night. For 3 years. The security guard at the service entrance nodded at him. "Evening, Marcus." "Evening, Ray. You look tired." "I'm always tired." Ray laughed. "Aren't we all?" Marcus took the freight elevator to the 42nd floor. The hallway was silent. The carpet muffled his footsteps. The air smelled like expensive. Nothing that particular scent of wealth that came from having everything cleaned so thoroughly that no trace of human life remained. He stopped at Unit 4201 and pulled out his key card. 8 months he'd been cleaning this penthouse. 8 months of arriving after 11 and leaving before 2. 8 months of wiping spotless counters and vacuuming immaculate carpets and dusting shelves that held no dust. 8 months of never really seeing the woman who lived here. Elena Wright. He knew the name from magazine covers. Forbes. Fortune. Time. She ran a tech company worth $500 million. Something about hospital software patient data efficiency systems. The details didn't matter. What mattered was that she paid well and she was never home. At least that's what he thought. Marcus swiped his card and pushed open the door. The penthouse was dark. That was wrong. Elena always left lights on the kitchen, the hallway, the bathroom. She was meticulous about it. Marcus had noticed the pattern months ago and assumed it was a security thing, a way to make the apartment look occupied. Tonight everything was black. Marcus reached for the light switch. "Don't." He froze. The voice came from somewhere deep in the apartment. Hoarse. Barely above a whisper. "Miss Wright. Don't turn on the lights. Please." Marcus let his hand fall. His eyes adjusted slowly to the darkness. He could make out shapes now, the couch, the coffee table, the massive windows overlooking the city, and a figure, sitting on the floor, back against the wall. "Miss Wright, are you okay?" "I'm fine." "You don't sound fine." "I said I'm fine." Marcus took a step forward, then another. His eyes were adjusting now, and he could see her more clearly. Elena Wright sat with her knees pulled up to her chest. Her hair was tangled, unwashed. She wore the same clothes he'd seen her in 3 days ago, a wrinkled blouse and sweatpants that didn't match. And she was shaking, not shivering, shaking, like something inside her was coming apart. "Miss Wright, why are you still here?" Her voice cracked. "I told you I'm fine. Just clean and leave." "I can't do that." "Why not?" "Because you're sitting on the floor in the dark, and you look like you haven't slept in a week." Elena laughed. It was an ugly sound, bitter and broken. "I haven't slept in a month," she said. "But that's none of your business." Marcus should have left. He knew he should have left. She was his employer. He was the help. There were boundaries, lines you didn't cross, questions you didn't ask. But he kept hearing his daughter's voice. "Why do you always leave?" He kept seeing his wife's face. The way Sarah used to sit in the dark when she thought no one was watching. The way she used to say, "I'm fine," when she was dying inside. Marcus sat down on the floor across from Elena. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Sitting." "I didn't say you could sit." "I know." Elena stared at him. Even in the darkness he could see the confusion on her face, like no one had ever refused to follow her orders before. "You're going to get fired," she said. "Maybe." "I could call your supervisor right now." "You could." "So why are you still sitting there?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Because my wife used to sit in the dark too. And I always left her alone because I thought that's what she wanted." Elena didn't respond. "She died 3 years ago," Marcus continued. "Lung cancer. By the time they caught it, it was everywhere. She spent the last year of her life hooked up to machines, struggling to breathe." "I'm sorry." Elena's voice was softer now. "But I don't see what that has to do with me." "Neither did I, at first." "What's that supposed to mean?" Marcus didn't answer. He stood up and walked toward the secondary balcony, the small one tucked around the side of the building that most people didn't know existed. "Where are you going?" Elena called after him. He didn't respond. The balcony door was unlocked. It was always unlocked. He'd noticed that weeks ago, but never thought much of it. Now he understood why. Marcus stepped outside. The city sprawled below him, 42 stories of lights and traffic and distant sirens. The air was cold, and there was a chair in the corner, a single chair facing away from the apartment, a hiding spot. He moved the chair. Behind it, shoved against the outdoor AC unit, was a plastic bag. Marcus pulled it out. He already knew what was inside. He'd found it a week ago and put it back, trying to convince himself it wasn't his business. But tonight was different. Tonight he opened the bag. Cigarette butts spilled onto the concrete. 30 of them. Maybe more. Wrapped in tissue, stuffed into the bag, hidden away like evidence of a crime. There was an ashtray too. Small, glass. Wiped clean but still stained with ash. "Put that down." Marcus turned around. Elena stood in the doorway. Her face was pale, her eyes wide. She looked terrified. "Put it down," she said again. "You have no right." "How long? What? How long have you been smoking?" Elena's jaw tightened. "That's none of your business." "You're right, it's not." Marcus held up the bag. "But I'm guessing it's been years. Maybe a decade. Maybe longer. So what if it has... So that cough I've been hearing through your bedroom door every night, that's not allergies, is it?" Elena flinched like he'd slapped her. "The mints on your kitchen counter," Marcus continued. "The air purifier running 24 hours a day. The windows always cracked open even when it's 40 degrees outside. The mouthwash in the guest bathroom you never use." He took a step toward her. "You're hiding it. From everyone. From your doctors, from your board, from the whole world. And it's killing you. Stop." The shortness of breath, the dizziness, the shaking hands. I've seen it before, Miss Wright. I watched my wife go through the exact same thing. I said, stop. Elena's voice cracked. She pressed her hands against her ears, like she could block out his words. You don't know anything about me, she said. You're just the man who cleans my floors. You have no idea what my life is like, what I deal with every single day. You're right, I don't. Then why won't you leave me alone? Marcus set the bag down on the ground. Because I left my wife alone, he said quietly. I saw the signs, and I told myself it wasn't my place to say anything. I told myself she was an adult, she could make her own choices. I told myself it would be disrespectful to interfere. He looked at Elena. She died in our living room, gasping for air. My daughter was sleeping upstairs. She was 5 years old, and she woke up to the sound of paramedics breaking down our front door. Elena's face crumbled. I'm not going to make that mistake again, Marcus said. I'm not going to walk away and pretend I didn't see what I saw. So you can fire me. You can call my supervisor. You can do whatever you want. But I'm not leaving until you tell me the truth. The silence stretched between them. Elena stood in the doorway, her arms wrapped around herself, her whole body trembling. She looked small, fragile, nothing like the powerful CEO the world thought she was. 15 years, she whispered. Marcus waited. I started in college. Everyone smoked back then. It was just something you did at parties when you were stressed, when you needed to take the edge off. She laughed bitterly. I told myself I'd quit after graduation, then after my first job, then after I started my company. But I never did. She walked past Marcus and sat down in the chair on the balcony. She stared out at the city lights. It got worse when the company took off. The pressure was constant. Board meetings, investor calls, product launches. Everyone expected me to be perfect all the time. I couldn't afford to fall apart. She shook her head. So I smoked. It was the only thing that made me feel like I could breathe. That doesn't make sense, Marcus said. Smoking makes it harder to breathe. I know. I know it doesn't make sense. Elena's voice was thick with tears. But it's true. When I don't have it, I feel like I'm drowning. Like everything is spinning out of control and I can't make it stop. She looked up at him. Do you know what people would say if they found out if they knew the CEO of a healthcare technology company was a smoker? Marcus sat down on the balcony floor across from her. They'd call me a hypocrite, Elena continued. They'd say I was weak, undisciplined, a fraud. My stock price would tank. My board would lose confidence. Everything I've built, 15 years of work, would fall apart. So you hide it. So I hide it. And you're killing yourself in the process. Elena wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I know. Then why don't you stop? You think I haven't tried? Her voice rose. I've tried 100 times. Patches, gum, hypnosis, medication. Nothing works. Every time I quit, I can't function. I can't sleep. I can't think. I can't do my job. And if I can't do my job, everything falls apart. Everything's going to fall apart anyway if you end up in a hospital. You don't think I know that? Elena stood up abruptly. She walked to the balcony railing and gripped it with both hands, her knuckles white. I'm so tired, she said. I'm so tired of pretending. I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of waking up every morning feeling like I'm going to die, and having to smile and act like everything's fine. Marcus stood up and walked over to stand beside her. Then stop pretending, he said. It's not that simple. I didn't say it was simple. I said stop pretending. Elena turned to look at him. Her face was streaked with tears. Why do you care? She asked. You don't know me. I'm just some rich woman who pays you to clean her apartment. Why does it matter to you if I live or die? Marcus thought about his wife. He thought about the morning he found her collapsed on the bathroom floor. The ambulance ride, the hospital room, the machines beeping, and the doctors talking in hushed voices, and the look on Sarah's face when she realized she wasn't going to make it. He thought about Amy asking every night when Mommy was coming home. "Because I watched someone die once," he said. "Someone I loved, and I didn't say anything when I should have. I didn't push when I should have pushed. I told myself it wasn't my place, and by the time I realized I was wrong, it was too late." He met Elena's eyes. "I'm not going to let that happen again. Not if I can help it." Elena stared at him for a long moment. Then something broke in her expression. All the walls she'd built, all the control she'd clung to for 15 years. It all crumbled at once. "I don't know how to stop," she whispered. "I don't know how to ask for help. I don't know how to be weak." "You're not weak," Marcus said. "You're human." Elena covered her face with her hands, and for the first time in years, she let herself fall apart. Marcus didn't try to fix it. He didn't offer solutions or advice or empty reassurances. He just stood there beside her on the balcony 42 stories above the city and let her cry. When she finally looked up at him, her eyes were red and swollen. "You're the first person who's actually seen me in 15 years, she said. Marcus nodded slowly. "Then let me help you," he said. "Not as your employee, not as a stranger, just as someone who understands what you're going through." Elena wiped her face. "Why would you do that?" "Because nobody should have to die alone. And right now, that's exactly where you're headed." Elena was quiet for a long time. The city hummed below them. The wind picked up cold and sharp. Finally, she spoke. "I don't know if I can do this." "You don't have to know. You just have to try." Elena looked at him. Really looked at him like she was seeing him for the first time. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay what?" "Okay. I'll try." Marcus reached out and picked up the bag of cigarettes from the ground. "Then let's start with this," he said. He handed it to her. Elena took the bag. She stared at it for a long moment. Then she walked to the railing, held the bag over the edge and let go. They watched it fall 42 stories until it disappeared into the darkness below. Elena turned back to Marcus. Her hands were still shaking, but for the first time since he'd met her, she didn't look alone. The next morning, Marcus didn't go home. He sat in the penthouse kitchen while Elena slept on the couch wrapped in a blanket she'd pulled from her bedroom. She'd refused to go back in there, said the room smelled like smoke, like failure, like everything she was trying to leave behind. Marcus made coffee. He found the machine, some Italian brand he couldn't pronounce, and figured out how to work it after 3 failed attempts. The penthouse was quiet. The city was waking up outside the windows, but in here everything felt suspended. Frozen, like the moment before a storm. His phone buzzed. A text from his mother. "Amy's asking for you. When will you be home?" Marcus stared at the message. He should leave. He should go home, see his daughter, get some sleep before his next shift. He had no business being here sitting in a billionaire's kitchen waiting for her to wake up. But he couldn't make himself move. He kept thinking about the look on Elena's face when she dropped the bag, the way her hands shook, the way she said okay, like it was the hardest word she'd ever spoken. He texted back, "Few more hours. Tell her I love her." The response came immediately. "Marcus, what's going on?" He didn't answer. Elena stirred on the couch around 7 a.m. She sat up slowly, blinking, confused. For a moment she looked like she didn't know where she was. Then her eyes found Marcus, and everything came flooding back. "You're still here," she said. "I'm still here." "Why?" "Because you asked me to help you. Remember?" Elena pushed the blanket off and stood up. She looked terrible. Her hair was a mess. Her clothes were wrinkled, and there were mascara streaks on her cheeks from crying the night before. "I need coffee," she said. "Already made." She walked to the kitchen and poured herself a cup. Her hands were steadier now, but Marcus could see the tension in her shoulders, the way she held herself like she was bracing for impact. "What time is it?" she asked. "Almost 7:30. "I have a board meeting at 9. "You're not going." Elena turned to look at him. "Excuse me. You're not going to that meeting, not today. You don't get to tell me what to do." "You're right, I don't." Marcus stood up from the table. "But if you walk into that boardroom looking like this, feeling like this, they're going to know something's wrong. And isn't that exactly what you're trying to avoid?" Elena's jaw tightened. She wanted to argue, he could see it in her eyes, but she knew he was right. "What am I supposed to tell them?" she asked. "Tell them you're sick." "I'm not sick." "You've been poisoning yourself for 15 years. That's sick." Elena flinched. She set down her coffee cup and leaned against the counter. "I can't just cancel," she said. "There are people depending on me, decisions that need to be made. They can wait one day. You don't understand how business works." "Maybe not. But I understand what happens when someone pushes themselves past the breaking point." Marcus walked over to her. "My wife did that. She worked 60-hour weeks while her lungs were failing. She told herself she couldn't afford to slow down, couldn't afford to look weak. And then one day she collapsed and never got back up." Elena closed her eyes. "One day," Marcus said. "That's all I'm asking. Give yourself one day." The silence stretched between them. Elena gripped the edge of the counter like it was the only thing keeping her upright. "Fine," she finally said. "One day." She picked up her phone and typed a message. Her thumb hovered over the send button for a long moment. Then she pressed it. "Done," she said. "I told my assistant I have a stomach bug." "Good. Now what?" Marcus looked at her. "Now we figure out how to keep you alive." The first few hours were easy. Elena showered and changed into fresh clothes. She ate half a piece of toast, the first real food Marcus had seen her consume. They sat in the living room and talked about nothing important. The weather, the traffic, the view from the windows. Marcus understood what was happening. She was distracting herself, filling the silence with words so she didn't have to think about what she really wanted. Around noon, the cravings started. Elena was mid-sentence when she stopped talking. Her hand flew to her chest. Her breathing quickened. "What's wrong?" Marcus asked. "Nothing. I'm fine." "You're not fine. What's happening?" Elena stood up and walked to the window. She pressed her palms against the glass. "I need one," she said. "Just one, to take the edge off." "No. You don't understand. I can feel it in my chest. It's like there's something squeezing my lungs." "That's withdrawal. It'll pass." "What if it doesn't?" "It will." Elena turned around. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with something that looked like panic. "I can't do this," she said. "I thought I could, but I can't. It's too hard." "It's supposed to be hard. You don't know what it feels like." "You're right. I don't." Marcus stood up and walked toward her. "But I know what it looked like when my wife went through it. I know she wanted to give up 100 times. I know some days she screamed at me, told me she hated me, told me to leave her alone." "What happened?" "She quit for 6 months. Then she found out her cancer was terminal, and she started again because she said it didn't matter anymore." Elena's face crumpled. "I'm not telling you that to scare you," Marcus said. "I'm telling you because I want you to understand what's at stake. You still have time. She didn't." Elena pressed her hand against the window again. Her whole body was trembling now. "I need air," she said. "I need to go outside." "The balcony." "No, not the balcony. Never the balcony again." She grabbed her jacket from the back of a chair. "I need to walk. Move. Something." "Then let's walk." They took the elevator down to the lobby. The doorman looked surprised to see Elena. Marcus got the impression she didn't leave the building often, but he nodded politely and held the door. The street was busy. Lunchtime crowds, delivery trucks, tourists taking photos. Elena walked fast, her head down, her hands shoved in her pockets. Marcus kept pace beside her. "Where are we going?" he asked. "I don't know. Anywhere. I just need to move." They walked for 3 blocks without talking. Elena's breathing was ragged, her steps uneven. Twice she stopped and leaned against a wall, her eyes closed, her jaw clenched. "Talk to me," Marcus said during the second stop. "About what?" "Anything. Whatever's in your head right now." Elena laughed bitterly. "You don't want to know what's in my head. Try me." She opened her eyes and looked at him. "I'm thinking about how easy it would be to walk into that convenience store on the corner and buy a pack. I'm thinking about how good it would feel to light one up right now. I'm thinking about how stupid I am for throwing away my stash last night." "What else?" "I'm thinking about my father." Marcus hadn't expected that. "Your father—" Elena pushed off the wall and started walking again. Marcus followed. "He died when I was 22, she said. "Heart attack. He smoked his whole life, 3 packs a day, sometimes more. My mother used to beg him to quit. He always said he would, tomorrow, next week, next month. But he never did. No, he never did." Elena's voice was flat. "I was there when it happened. We were having dinner. He stood up to get more wine and then he just collapsed. Hit his head on the table on the way down. By the time the ambulance arrived, he was gone." Marcus didn't say anything. He just walked beside her, listening. "I swore I would never be like him," Elena continued. "I swore I would never let something control me the way cigarettes controlled him. And then I started smoking anyway, first just at parties, then just when I was stressed, then every day, then every hour." She stopped walking. They were standing in front of a small park, a patch of green in the middle of the concrete. "I became exactly what I promised myself I'd never become," she said, "and I don't know how to stop." "Your father didn't have anyone to help him," Marcus said. "You do." Elena looked at him. "Why are you doing this? And don't tell me it's because of your wife. That's not enough of a reason." Marcus was quiet for a moment. He thought about the question. Really thought about it. "Because my daughter is 9 years old," he finally said. "And every night she asks me why I have to leave. She doesn't understand why I work nights, why I'm never there for bedtime, why I miss her school plays and her soccer games. That's not an answer." "Yes, it is. Because the reason I work nights is so I can be there during the day, so I can pick her up from school, so I can make her breakfast, so I can be the parent she needs even if I can't be there all the time." He met Elena's eyes. "I couldn't save my wife, but maybe I can save you, and maybe that's worth something." Elena stared at him. Her eyes were wet. "You barely know me," she whispered. "I know enough." They stood in silence for a long moment. The city moved around them. Cars, honking people, talking the endless rhythm of Los Angeles. But Marcus and Elena stayed still. "Okay," Elena finally said. "Okay, what?" "Okay, let's keep going." They walked back to the penthouse together. By evening, Elena was falling apart. The tremors had gotten worse. Her hands shook so badly she couldn't hold a glass of water without spilling it. She paced the living room like a caged animal, her arms wrapped around herself, her teeth chattering even though the apartment was warm. "I can't do this," she kept saying. "I can't. I can't." "You can," Marcus said. "You don't understand. My whole body is screaming. Every cell in my body wants it." "I know." "Then why won't you let me have just one?" "Because one is never just one. You know that." Elena stopped pacing. She stood in the middle of the living room, her chest heaving, her eyes wild. "I hate you," she said. "I know. I hate you for finding those cigarettes. I hate you for making me throw them away. I hate you for being here right now watching me fall apart. I know. Stop saying that. What do you want me to say?" Elena's face contorted. For a moment Marcus thought she was going to scream. Instead, she collapsed onto the couch and buried her face in her hands. "I want you to tell me it's okay to give up," she said, her voice muffled. I want you to tell me I don't have to do this. Marcus sat down on the coffee table across from her. I'm not going to tell you that, he said quietly. Why not? Because it's not true. Elena looked up. Her face was red, her eyes swollen. What if I can't do this? She asked. What if I'm not strong enough? You are. You don't know that. I've been watching you for 8 months, Marcus said. I've seen you run a company while your body was falling apart. I've seen you maintain a perfect image while you were dying inside. I've seen you hold it together when most people would have crumbled. He leaned forward. That takes strength. More strength than most people have. If you can do all that while destroying yourself, imagine what you can do when you're actually fighting to live. Elena wiped her eyes. Her hands were still shaking, but something in her expression shifted. You really believe that? She asked. I do. Even after everything I've said to you tonight. Especially after everything you've said tonight. Elena let out a long breath. She leaned back against the couch and stared at the ceiling. I'm so tired, she said. Then sleep. I can't. Every time I close my eyes, all I can think about is smoking. Then don't close your eyes. Talk to me instead. About what? Tell me about your company. Tell me how you built it. Elena turned her head to look at him. You want to hear about my company? I want to hear about anything that isn't cigarettes. A ghost of a smile crossed her face. That's the first smart thing you've said all day. She started talking. She told him about graduating from Stanford with a degree in computer science. About working for a healthcare startup that went bankrupt after 2 years. About the night she sat in her tiny apartment and wrote the first lines of code for what would eventually become Right Medical Systems. She told him about the early days sleeping on a futon in her office, eating ramen for every meal, maxing out credit cards to make payroll. About the first investor who believed in her. About the first hospital that agreed to try her software. She told him about the moment she realized she had actually built something. The morning she woke up and checked her bank account and saw a number with 7 digits. The day Forbes called to put her on their cover. I thought that would fix everything, she said. I thought if I could just be successful enough, rich enough, famous enough, I would finally feel like I was okay. Like I was enough. Did it work? Elena laughed. What do you think? I think you're sitting here with me instead of at some fancy party. The parties aren't that fancy. Mostly just people trying to impress each other. She paused. Actually, that's exactly what they are. That's all any of it is. People trying to prove they're worth something. Are you worth something? The question hung in the air. Elena was quiet for a long time. I used to think so, she finally said. When I was building the company, when I was working 18-hour days, when I was fighting to prove everyone wrong, I felt like I was worth something then. Like I had a purpose. And now I feel like a fraud. I stand on stages and talk about wellness and productivity and living your best life, and I'm secretly killing myself behind closed doors. What does that make me? Human, Marcus said. It makes you human. Elena shook her head. Humans are allowed to make mistakes. CEOs aren't. That's bullshit. Elena blinked. Excuse me. I said that's bullshit. Marcus leaned forward. You think every successful person has their life together. You think every CEO and executive and celebrity is perfect behind closed doors. They're not. They're all just people, same as everyone else. The only difference is, they have better publicists. Elena stared at him. Where did that come from? She asked. I've been cleaning rich people's apartments for 3 years. Trust me, I've seen things. Like what? Marcus hesitated. I probably shouldn't say. Come on. You can't start something like that and not finish it. He sighed. There's a guy on the 38th floor, hedge fund manager, worth probably $200 million. Keeps a bottle of whiskey hidden behind his toilet tank. I found it the first week I started working here. That's not so bad. He replaces it every 3 days. Elena's eyes widened. Oh. There's a woman on 35, movie producer. Has her assistant call in prescriptions from 4 different doctors. I've seen the bottles in her medicine cabinet. And there's a couple on 40, tech investors. They haven't spoken to each other in months. I know because I clean their apartment 3 times a week, and there are always 2 plates in the sink, 2 glasses in the dishwasher, but never more than 1 at a time. They eat separately, sleep separately, live in the same apartment like strangers. Elena was quiet. My point is, Marcus said, everyone's got something. Everyone's hiding something. You're not special just because you smoke. Gee, thanks. You know what I mean. Elena almost smiled. I do. She pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders. Is it weird that this is the most honest conversation I've had in years? With your cleaning man? Yeah, it's a little weird. She laughed. A real laugh, not the bitter one from before. You know what I mean, she said. I do. They sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Elena's tremors had calmed somewhat. The wild look in her eyes had faded. Can I ask you something? She said. Sure. Your wife. What was her name? Sarah. What was she like? Marcus felt the familiar ache in his chest. He didn't talk about Sarah often. It hurt too much. But tonight, something made him want to. She was stubborn, he said. Stubborn as hell. When she decided she wanted something, nothing could stop her. That's how we ended up together, actually. She asked me out 3 times before I said yes. Why didn't you say yes the first time? Because I was an idiot. I thought she was out of my league. Was she? Probably. Marcus smiled at the memory. She was beautiful, smart, funny. Way too good for a guy like me. What did she see in you? Honestly, I never figured that out. I asked her once near the end. You know what she said? What? She said I was the only person who ever made her feel safe. Elena's expression softened. That's beautiful, she said. Yeah, it was. Marcus cleared his throat. Anyway, that was Sarah. She made me want to be better than I was. She still does, even though she's gone. That's why you're here, isn't it? Not just because of guilt, because you're trying to be the person she believed you were. Marcus looked at Elena. Really looked at her. Maybe, he said. I hadn't thought about it like that before. Well, for what it's worth, I think she'd be proud of you. The words hit Marcus harder than he expected. He felt his eyes sting. Thanks, he said quietly. Elena nodded, then she yawned. Oh God, she said. I'm actually tired. Then sleep. For real this time. Will you stay? Marcus should have said no. He had to work tomorrow night. He had to see his daughter. He had a whole life outside this penthouse. But Elena was looking at him with something vulnerable in her eyes. Something he hadn't seen before. I'll stay, he said. Elena curled up on the couch and pulled the blanket over herself. Thank you, Marcus, she murmured. For what? For not giving up on me. She closed her eyes. Within minutes, she was asleep. Marcus sat in the chair across from her and watched the city lights flicker through the windows. He thought about Sarah. About Amy. About all the nights he'd spent cleaning empty apartments while his daughter slept without him. He thought about Elena Wright, the billionaire who had everything and nothing all at once. He didn't know if she would make it. He didn't know if she had the strength to quit for good. But he knew he would be there to find out. His phone buzzed. Another text from his mother. Amy cried herself to sleep. She misses you. Marcus read the message 3 times. Then he put the phone away and stayed exactly where he was. Some battles were worth fighting, even when they cost you everything. The morning came too fast. Marcus woke up in the chair with a stiff neck and the taste of old coffee in his mouth. Sunlight streamed through the windows. The city was already awake. Elena was still asleep on the couch, but she was moving restlessly, her brow furrowed, her hands twitching. Then she sat up with a gasp. "What's wrong?" Marcus asked immediately. "Nothing. Bad dream." She rubbed her face. "What time is it?" "Almost 8. I slept for 12 hours. Your body needed it." Elena swung her legs off the couch and sat there for a moment, her head in her hands. "How do you feel?" Marcus asked. "Like I got hit by a truck." She lifted her head. "But also, better. Maybe. I don't know. Do you want to smoke?" Elena was quiet for a moment. "Yes," she admitted. "But not as much as last night." "That's progress." "Is it?" "It's the first step. The first day is always the hardest." Elena looked at him. "How do you know so much about this?" "Research. After Sarah was diagnosed, I read everything I could about lung disease, about quitting, about what to expect. I wanted to understand what she was going through." He paused. "I wanted to help her, even though she didn't want my help." "Why didn't she want your help?" "Same reason you didn't. Pride. Shame. The belief that asking for help means you're weak." Elena nodded slowly. "I understand that." "I know you do." She stood up and walked to the window. The city sprawled below them, endless and indifferent. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we get through day 2. And after that, day 3, then day 4, then day 5. One day at a time." Elena turned to face him. "How long does this last? The physical stuff, a few weeks. The mental stuff." Marcus paused. "Longer. Maybe forever. But it gets easier." "How much easier?" "Easier enough that you can live a normal life. Easier enough that you can go hours, then days, then weeks, without thinking about it. But never completely gone. No, never completely gone. But manageable. Survivable." Elena wrapped her arms around herself. "I don't know if I can do this alone," she said quietly. "You're not alone. I told you I'd help you, and I meant it. But you have your own life, your daughter, your job. You can't spend every day babysitting a grown woman who can't control her own impulses." "No," Marcus agreed. "I can't. But I can check in. I can be there when you need to talk. I can be the person who knows the truth." "Why would you do that?" "Because everyone needs someone," Marcus said. "And right now I'm the only someone you've got." Elena stared at him for a long moment. Then she walked across the room and did something Marcus didn't expect. She hugged him. It was awkward, she was stiff, and he was caught off guard, but it was real. The first real physical contact between them. "Thank you," she whispered against his shoulder. Marcus patted her back gently. "You're welcome," he said. When she pulled away, her eyes were wet. "I have to call my assistant," she said. "I can't miss another day of work. People will start asking questions." "Are you ready for that?" "No, but I don't have a choice." She picked up her phone and started typing. Marcus watched her. She looked fragile standing there, nothing like the powerful executive he'd seen on magazine covers. But she also looked determined. And maybe Marcus thought that was enough. Elena went back to work the next day. Marcus went back to his life. But everything had changed. He picked up Amy from school that afternoon, and she ran into his arms like she always did. But this time, when she looked up at him, she asked a question he wasn't prepared for. "Daddy, where were you?" "Working, sweetheart." "But you weren't home when I woke up. Grandma said you worked all night." Marcus knelt down so he was eye level with his daughter. Her eyes were so much like Sarah's, big and brown and full of questions. "Sometimes Daddy has to work extra hours," he said. "But why? Because a woman I barely know needed me. Because I couldn't walk away from someone who was dying. Because I'm trying to make up for all the times I walked away before." "It's complicated, baby." Amy frowned. "That's what you always say when you don't want to answer." Marcus laughed despite himself. "You're too smart for your own good. You know that? Mommy used to say that too. The words hit Marcus like a punch to the chest. He pulled Amy into a hug and held her tight. I love you, he said. I love you too, Daddy, but I don't like it when you're gone. I know. I'm sorry. That night, Marcus went to work at his usual time. He cleaned the apartments on floors 35 through 41, same as always. He moved through the motions, mechanically wiping, vacuuming, scrubbing, but his mind was elsewhere. When he got to floor 42 to Elena's penthouse, he hesitated at the door. Should he knock? Should he just let himself in like normal? What was the protocol now? Before he could decide, the door opened. Elena stood there in sweatpants and a t-shirt, no makeup, hair pulled back. She looked tired, but not as tired as before. I thought I heard someone out here, she said. Were you just going to stand there all night? I didn't want to intrude. You spent 2 days watching me have a nervous breakdown. I think we're past intrusion. She stepped aside. Come in. Marcus walked into the penthouse. It looked the same as it always had, spotless, pristine like a museum, but something felt different. The windows were closed. The air purifier was off. There were no mints on the counter. How was work? He asked. Terrible. I wanted to scream at everyone. I almost cried in the bathroom 3 times. My hands were shaking so badly I couldn't sign documents. But you made it through. Barely. Elena walked to the kitchen and poured herself a glass of water. I thought about smoking every 30 seconds. Literally every 30 seconds. I counted. That's normal. It doesn't feel normal. It feels like torture. It'll get better. Elena looked at him. You keep saying that. Because it's true. She took a long drink of water, then set the glass down. Can I ask you something? She said. Sure. When you were cleaning my apartment all those months before you found the cigarettes, did you ever wonder about me, about what my life was like? Marcus considered the question. Honestly, not really. I saw the magazines, the photos. I assumed you had it all figured out. Everyone assumes that. I know, I was wrong. Elena leaned against the counter. I've been thinking about what you said, about how everyone's got something, everyone's hiding something. What about it? I spent my whole life trying to be different, trying to be better, trying to be the person who had it all together. She paused. But I'm not different at all, am I? I'm just like everyone else. Just another person, trying to hold herself together with lies and secrets. There's nothing wrong with that. Yes, there is. Because I built my entire identity on being exceptional, on being above it all. And now I have to face the fact that I'm just ordinary, flawed, human. Being human isn't a flaw, Elena. She looked at him. You're the only person who calls me that. What? Elena. Everyone else calls me Miss Right or Ms. Right or just Right. My board calls me Elena, but only when they want something. You're the only one who says it like... Like what? Like I'm a person, not a brand. Marcus didn't know what to say to that. So he said the only thing that came to mind. Do you want me to clean, or do you want me to stay? Elena smiled. It was a small smile, barely there, but it was real. Both, she said. Clean if you want, but talk to me while you do it. I can't stand the silence right now. So Marcus cleaned, and they talked. He told her about Amy, about her obsession with dinosaurs, about how she refused to eat anything green, about the way she laughed at her own jokes, even when they weren't funny. Elena told him about her company, about the latest product launch, about the investor who kept pressuring her to go public, about the assistant who had been with her for 10 years, and still didn't know her at all. They talked about nothing important, and somehow that made it important. When Marcus finished cleaning, it was almost 2 a.m. I should go, he said. I know. Elena walked him to the door. Marcus. Yeah. Thank you. For tonight. For all of it. You don't have to keep thanking me. I know. But I want to. She paused. Same time tomorrow. Marcus nodded. Same time tomorrow. The first week was brutal. Elena called Marcus 3 times during the day, once from her office bathroom, once from her car, once from the middle of a board meeting she'd excused herself from. I can't do this, she said every time. Yes, you can, he said every time. I'm going to buy a pack. I'm walking to the store right now. No, you're not. Turn around. You don't know what it's like. You're right, but I know what happens if you give in. Turn around, Elena. She turned around. Every time. At night, Marcus cleaned her apartment while she paced the living room, chewing gum, drinking water, doing anything to keep her hands and mouth busy. This is pathetic, she said on day 5. I'm a grown woman. I run a $500 million company, and I can't go 5 minutes without wanting to put poison in my lungs. Addiction doesn't care how successful you are. Obviously. You're being too hard on yourself. I'm not being hard enough. If I were harder on myself, I never would have started in the first place. Marcus stopped cleaning and looked at her. Can I tell you something? He said. What? You need to stop punishing yourself. Elena crossed her arms. I'm not punishing myself. Yes, you are. Every time you beat yourself up for having cravings, every time you call yourself pathetic or weak or stupid, that's punishment, and it's not helping. So what am I supposed to do? Congratulate myself for being an addict? No, but you could try being as kind to yourself as you'd be to someone else in your position. Elena stared at him. What does that even mean? It means if your assistant came to you and said she was struggling with addiction, would you call her pathetic? Would you tell her she was weak and stupid? Of course not. Then why do you say those things to yourself? Elena opened her mouth to respond, then closed it. She looked away. I don't know, she said quietly. I've always been like this, my whole life. My father was the same way. Nothing was ever good enough. No achievement was ever worth celebrating. That's not strength, Elena. That's cruelty. It got me where I am. And where is that alone in a penthouse killing yourself slowly with no one in your life who actually knows you? The words landed hard. Marcus regretted them immediately. I'm sorry, he said. That was... No. Elena's voice was thick. You're right. You're absolutely right. She sat down on the couch and put her head in her hands. I don't know how to be any other way, she said. I don't know how to be kind to myself. I don't know how to accept being anything less than perfect. Marcus sat down beside her. Then learn, he said. Start now. Start small. When you feel the craving, instead of calling yourself weak, try saying, this is hard and I'm doing my best. That's it. That's the whole thing. That sounds like something from a self-help book. Maybe. But does it sound wrong? Elena was quiet for a long moment. No, she finally admitted. It doesn't sound wrong. Then try it. Just try. Elena lifted her head and looked at him. Her eyes were wet. This is hard, she said slowly, and I'm doing my best. How did that feel? Stupid. Try again. This is hard, and I'm doing my best. Better. How do you feel now? Elena paused. Something shifted in her expression. Lighter, she said. Maybe. A little. Good. That's a start. The second week was marginally better. Elena still called Marcus during the day, but less frequently. She still paced the apartment at night, but for shorter periods. The tremors faded. The coughing fits became less frequent. But on day 10, everything fell apart. Marcus arrived at the penthouse to find the door unlocked and Elena nowhere in sight. Elena, he called. No answer. He checked the kitchen, the living room, the guest bedrooms. Empty. Then he heard it. A sound from the secondary balcony. Marcus ran. He threw open the balcony door and found Elena sitting on the concrete floor, her back against the railing. In her hand was an unopened pack of cigarettes. "Don't," she said without looking up. "Don't say anything." "Where did you get those?" "I had a delivery service bring them. Paid extra for discretion." She laughed bitterly. "Apparently you can get anything delivered in this city." Marcus sat down on the floor across from her. "You haven't opened them," he said. "Not yet." "How long have you been sitting here?" 3 hours. Elena finally looked at him. Her eyes were red and swollen. "I had a bad day." "Tell me." "My board called an emergency meeting. They're worried about my recent behavior. Apparently I've been distracted and short-tempered and not performing at my usual level." She held up the cigarettes. "They don't know about this. They just know something's wrong." "What did they say?" "They suggested I take a leave of absence. For my health." Elena's voice dripped with bitterness. "They don't know how ironic that is. Maybe taking time off isn't a bad idea. It's a terrible idea. If I step away, they'll push me out. That's how it works. CEOs don't take leaves of absence. They get replaced." "Is your company worth more than your life?" Elena stared at him. "You don't understand," she said. "This company is my life. It's everything I've built. Everything I am." "That's not true." "Yes, it is. Without right medical systems, I'm nothing. I'm just some woman who couldn't hack it. Who crumbled under pressure. Who let everyone down." "Is that really what you believe?" "It's what I know." Marcus reached out and took the pack of cigarettes from her hand. She let him. "Can I tell you what I see?" he said. Elena didn't respond. "I see a woman who built something incredible from nothing. Who worked harder than anyone else. Who never gave up even when everything was against her." He paused. "But I also see a woman who's been so focused on building that she forgot to live. Who's been so afraid of being weak that she never let herself be human." "What's wrong with being strong?" "Nothing. But strength isn't the same as being invulnerable. Real strength is knowing when you need help and having the courage to ask for it." Elena's chin trembled. "I don't know how to do that," she whispered. "I've never known how to do that. You asked me for help 2 weeks ago. That's a start. That was different." "How?" "Because you're—" She stopped herself. "I'm what?" Elena looked at him. Her walls were crumbling again, the way they had that first night. "You're the only person who's ever seen me," she said. "The real me. Everyone else sees the CEO, the brand, the image. But you saw through all of it. You saw the broken mess underneath, and you didn't run away." "Why would I run away?" "Because that's what people do. That's what everyone does. My mother left when I was 15. Said she couldn't handle my father's moods anymore. My few friends in college drifted away when I started working 80-hour weeks. Every relationship I've ever had ended because I couldn't let anyone close enough to see what I really was." "And what are you really?" Elena's face crumpled. "Scared," she said. "I'm so scared, Marcus. All the time. Scared of failing. Scared of being exposed. Scared of losing everything I've built. I thought if I could just keep moving, keep achieving, keep being perfect, the fear would go away." "Did it?" "No. It just got worse. The more successful I became, the more I had to lose. The more people expected from me, the more terrified I was of letting them down." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "Smoking was the only thing that made it quiet," she continued. "For 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long it took, my brain would just stop. The fear would fade. I could breathe. And now I can't breathe at all. Now the fear is louder than ever, and I don't have anything to make it stop." Marcus looked at the cigarettes in his hand. "If I give these back to you," he said, "the fear will go quiet for a few minutes. But then it'll come back. And you'll need another one, and another. And eventually you won't be able to run anymore." "I know. You have to find another way to make it quiet." "How?" Marcus thought for a moment. "My wife used to have panic attacks," he said. "After Amy was born, She'd wake up in the middle of the night, heart racing, convinced something terrible was about to happen. What did she do? She tried everything. Medication, meditation, therapy. Some of it helped, some of it didn't. But you know what worked best? What? Talking. Just talking. Saying the fear out loud. She said that when the thoughts stayed in her head, they got bigger and bigger until they felt like monsters. But when she said them out loud, they shrank. They became just thoughts. Elena was quiet for a long moment. The thoughts in my head feel like monsters, she said. Then say them out loud. You'll think I'm crazy. I won't. Elena took a shaky breath. I'm afraid that everything I've built is a lie, she said. That I'm not actually smart or talented or special. That I just got lucky, and any day now everyone's going to realize I don't deserve any of this. What else? I'm afraid that I'm going to end up like my father. Dead on the floor, alone. With no one who actually loved me. What else? Elena's voice broke. I'm afraid that I'm unlovable. That there's something fundamentally wrong with me. That the reason I'm alone isn't because I'm too busy or too successful or too intimidating. It's because there's nothing inside me worth loving. The words hung in the air. Marcus looked at Elena, at this woman who had everything and nothing, and felt his heart break for her. Can I tell you something? He said. Elena nodded, tears streaming down her face. My wife was the smartest person I ever knew. She was beautiful, kind, talented, everything I wasn't. And for years I couldn't understand what she saw in me. I kept waiting for her to figure out she'd made a mistake. Did she? No. You know what she told me. She said love isn't about deserving, it's about choosing. She chose me not because I was perfect, but because I was real, because I didn't pretend to be something I wasn't. Marcus leaned forward. You think you're unlovable because you're not perfect. But the opposite is true. The things you think make you broken, the fear, the doubt, the struggle, those are the things that make you human. And being human is what makes you worth loving. Elena stared at him. You really believe that? She whispered. I do. Even after everything I've told you. Especially after everything you've told me. Elena covered her face with her hands. Her shoulders shook with silent sobs. Marcus moved to sit beside her. He put his arm around her shoulders and let her cry. They sat there on the cold balcony floor for a long time. The city hummed below them. The wind picked up, carrying the sounds of traffic and sirens and distant voices. Finally, Elena lifted her head. What do I do now? She asked. Marcus held up the pack of cigarettes. You have a choice, he said. You can open these and smoke. You can make the fear quiet for a few minutes. You can go back to the way things were. Or you can let me throw these away. And tomorrow when the fear comes back, because it will come back, you call me. You say the thoughts out loud. You let them shrink instead of grow. Elena looked at the cigarettes. It's not that simple, she said. I know, but it's a start. Elena reached out and took the pack from his hand. She stared at it for a long moment. Then she stood up, walked to the railing, and threw the pack over the edge. They watched it fall. Day 11, Elena said quietly. Still going. Still going, Marcus agreed. Elena turned to look at him. Will you stay tonight? She asked. Not to watch me. Just to be here. Marcus should have said no. He had work tomorrow. He had Amy. He had a whole life that was falling apart while he sat in this penthouse. But he looked at Elena's face, at the exhaustion and the hope and the fear, and he couldn't bring himself to leave. I'll stay, he said. Elena nodded. She walked back inside, and Marcus followed. They sat on the couch in the living room, not touching, not talking, just existing in the same space. At some point, Elena fell asleep. Marcus stayed awake. He thought about his daughter asking why he was never home. He thought about his mother's worried looks. He thought about all the nights he'd spent cleaning rich people's apartments while his own life crumbled around him. He thought about Sarah. What would she say if she could see him now? Would she be proud? Would she understand? He didn't know. But for the first time in 3 years, Marcus felt like he was doing something that mattered. Something real. Something more than just surviving. He was helping someone live. His phone buzzed. A text from his mother. Amy had a nightmare. She's asking for you. Marcus read the message. His heart twisted. He looked at Elena asleep on the couch, peaceful for the first time in weeks. Then he looked at his phone. He was being pulled in 2 directions. 2 people who needed him. 2 lives he was trying to hold together. He couldn't keep doing this. Something had to give. But not tonight. Tonight he would stay. Tomorrow he would figure out the rest. Marcus put his phone away and leaned back in his chair. The city lights flickered outside the window. And somewhere in the distance, the sun began to rise. The call came at 6 a.m. Marcus was still in Elena's penthouse, still sitting in the chair by the window, when his phone rang. He grabbed it before the second ring. Mom? Marcus, you need to come home. His mother's voice was tight, controlled. The voice she used when she was trying not to panic. What's wrong? Amy woke up with a fever, 103. She's asking for you. Marcus was on his feet before she finished speaking. I'm coming. He hung up and turned around. Elena was awake, sitting up on the couch watching him. What happened? She asked. My daughter's sick. I have to go. Elena nodded immediately. Go, of course, go. Marcus grabbed his jacket and headed for the door. Then he stopped. Will you be okay? Marcus, your daughter needs you. Go. That's not what I asked. Elena met his eyes. I'll be fine. Day 12. I can handle 1 day. Marcus hesitated. Every instinct told him to stay to make sure she didn't fall apart the moment he left. But Amy's face flashed in his mind, her big brown eyes, her fever-flushed cheeks. Call me if you need anything, he said. I will. Now go. He went. The drive home took 45 minutes. Traffic was already building on the 405, and Marcus spent every red light checking his phone, waiting for updates. His mother met him at the door. She's in her room. The fever's down a little, but she won't stop crying. Marcus pushed past her and ran down the hallway. Amy was curled up in her bed, the stuffed rabbit clutched to her chest. Her face was pale, except for 2 bright red spots on her cheeks. Her eyes were closed, but she wasn't sleeping. Daddy. I'm here, baby. Marcus sat on the edge of the bed and pulled her into his arms. She was burning up her skin hot against his shirt. I don't feel good, Amy whimpered. I know, but you're going to be okay. Where were you? The question hit him like a knife. I was working, sweetheart. But you're always working. You're never here anymore. Marcus felt something crack inside his chest. I'm here now, he said. I'm not going anywhere. He held her until she fell asleep. Then he carried her to the car and drove to the pediatrician. The doctor said it was just a virus. Rest fluids, fever, reducers. Nothing serious. But Marcus couldn't shake the guilt that had settled in his stomach like a stone. He'd been so focused on Elena that he'd missed his daughter getting sick. What kind of father did that make him? That night, Marcus sat by Amy's bed and watched her sleep. Her breathing was steady now, her fever down. The crisis had passed, but the guilt remained. His phone buzzed, a text from Elena. Day 12, still going. Hope Amy's okay. Marcus stared at the message. He should respond. He should tell her Amy was fine. He should ask how she was feeling, if the cravings had been bad, if she needed to talk. But he couldn't. For the first time since this started, Marcus felt the weight of what he'd taken on. He'd made himself responsible for a woman he barely knew while his own daughter slept in a fever dream asking where her daddy was. He turned off his phone and put it in his pocket. Tomorrow, he would figure out what to do. Tonight, he would stay where he belonged. 3 days passed. Marcus didn't go back to the penthouse. He called in sick to work, told his supervisor he had a family emergency. He spent every hour with Amy reading her stories, making her soup, watching cartoons together on the couch. She got better fast, the way kids do. By day 2, she was bouncing off the walls, and by day 3, she was begging to go back to school. But Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. He'd been so caught up in Elena's crisis that he'd forgotten the crisis waiting for him at home. A 9-year-old girl who barely saw her father. A mother who was growing older, more tired, carrying the burden of raising a grandchild that should have been her son's job. "You can't keep doing this," his mother said on the third night. They were sitting at the kitchen table after Amy went to bed. Marcus had a cup of coffee in front of him, untouched and cold. Doing what? Working all night. Never being home. Letting me raise your daughter while you clean apartments for people who have everything. It's a job, Mom. It pays the bills. It's killing you. And it's killing her. Marcus looked up sharply. What's that supposed to mean? It means Amy cried for 2 hours last night because she thought you weren't coming home. It means she asked me if you were going to disappear like Mommy did. The words hit Marcus like a punch to the gut. She said that. She's 9 years old. She doesn't understand why you're never here. All she knows is that her mother is gone, and her father is always leaving. Marcus put his head in his hands. I don't know what else to do, he said. This job is the only thing keeping us afloat. Without it, we'd lose the house. There are other jobs. Not ones that pay this well. Not ones that work around her school schedule. His mother reached across the table and put her hand on his arm. Marcus, I know you're trying to do the right thing. I know you're working yourself to death because you think that's what a good father does. But Amy doesn't need money. She needs you. She needs both. Then figure it out. Find another way. Because this... She gestured around the kitchen at the empty chair where Sarah used to sit. This isn't working. Marcus didn't answer. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He ignored it. But it buzzed again. And again. And again. Are you going to answer that? His mother asked. Marcus pulled out his phone. 4 missed calls from Elena. 2 text messages. Please call me. I need help. He stared at the screen. Who is it? His mother asked. No one. Marcus? It's a client. From work. His mother's eyes narrowed. She'd always been able to tell when he was lying. What kind of client calls you at 10 p.m.? It's complicated. Then uncomplicated. Marcus stood up from the table. I have to make a call. He walked out to the backyard and dialed Elena's number. She answered on the first ring. Marcus. Her voice was shaking. I didn't know if you'd call back. What's wrong? I almost bought a pack tonight. I walked to the store. I stood in line. I had my credit card out. But you didn't buy them. No. I walked out. But I wanted to. God, I wanted to so badly. Marcus closed his eyes. That's good, Elena. That's really good. It doesn't feel good. It feels like I'm dying. You're not dying. You're healing. There's a difference. Where have you been? I haven't heard from you in 3 days. My daughter was sick. Is she okay? She's fine now. It was just a fever. There was a pause on the other end of the line. You should be with her, Elena said. Not worrying about me. I'm not. Yes, you are. You've been worrying about me for weeks. And I appreciate it, Marcus. I do. But you have your own life, your own family. I told you I would help you. And you have, more than you know. Elena's voice softened. But I can't be the reason you miss your daughter's childhood. I won't be that selfish. Marcus didn't know what to say. I'm going to try something, Elena continued. There's a therapist, someone who specializes in addiction. I called her yesterday. I have an appointment tomorrow. That's great. It's terrifying, but you were right. I can't do this alone, and I can't keep depending on you to be my lifeline. Marcus felt a strange mix of emotions, relief, pride, and something that might have been disappointment. I'm proud of you, he said. Don't be proud yet. I haven't done anything except make a phone call. Making the phone call is the hard part. Elena laughed softly. You always say the right thing. Not always. Most of the time then. She paused. Marcus, can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you help me the real reason? Not because of your wife. The real, honest reason. Marcus thought about the question. He'd asked himself the same thing 100 times over the past few weeks. Because you reminded me of her, he finally said. Not in the way you look, or talk, or act, but in the way you hide. Sarah used to hide everything. Her pain, her fear, her struggles. She thought that if she just kept pretending, everything would be okay. What happened? She died thinking she'd failed us, that she'd been a burden, that we'd be better off without her. Marcus's voice cracked. She was wrong. She was so wrong, but she never let us tell her that because she never let us see her. Elena was quiet. When I found those cigarettes, Marcus continued, when I saw you sitting on the floor in the dark, I saw her. I saw the same fear, the same shame, the same desperate need to hold it all together. And I thought maybe if I'd pushed harder with Sarah, maybe if I'd refused to let her hide things, would have been different. You think you could have saved her? I don't know, probably not, but I'll never know for sure because I never tried. So I'm what, your redemption? The word stung, but Marcus didn't deny it. Maybe. Or maybe I just didn't want to watch another person destroy themselves when I had the chance to help. Even if it cost you everything. It hasn't cost me everything. Not yet. But it will if you keep choosing me over your daughter. Marcus looked back at the house. Through the kitchen window he could see his mother washing dishes. Somewhere inside, Amy was sleeping. You're right, he said. I know you're right. Then go be with your family. I'll be okay. Will you? I don't know. But I have to try, don't I? Isn't that what you keep telling me? Marcus smiled despite himself. Yeah, that's what I keep telling you. Then take your own advice. Go be with your daughter. Stop worrying about me. I don't think I can stop worrying about you. Then worry from a distance. Check in once a week. Or once a month. Whatever works. But don't sacrifice your life for mine, Marcus. I'm not worth that. Yes, you are. The words came out before he could stop them. Elena was silent for a long moment. Goodbye, Marcus, she finally said. Thank you for everything. This isn't goodbye. Maybe not. But it's the end of something. She hung up. Marcus stood in his backyard, holding the phone, listening to the silence. She was right. Something had ended. But maybe something else had begun. 2 weeks passed. Marcus went back to work, but he changed his schedule. He negotiated with his supervisor to take an earlier shift, 6 p.m. to midnight, instead of 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. The pay was slightly less, but he could be home by 1 in the morning, sleep for a few hours, and still be there when Amy woke up. It wasn't perfect, but it was better. He didn't go back to Elena's penthouse. The building assigned another cleaner to the 42nd floor. Marcus didn't ask who. He didn't want to know. But he thought about her. Every night while he cleaned other people's apartments, he wondered if she was okay. If she'd made it through another day. If the therapy was helping. He wanted to call her. 100 times he pulled out his phone and started to dial her number, but he always stopped. She'd asked for space. She'd told him to let her try on her own. He had to respect that even if it killed him. On day 27, his phone rang. It was 3 a.m. Marcus was in bed. Amy asleep down the hall. He grabbed the phone without looking at the screen. Hello. Marcus. Elena's voice. Thin, strained on the edge of breaking. He sat up immediately. Elena. What's wrong? I don't know why I'm calling. I shouldn't be calling. You told me to give you space and I'm not respecting that, and I'm sorry. Elena, slow down. What happened? He heard her take a shaky breath. My board voted today. They removed me as CEO. The words hung in the air. What? They said I've been unstable, not fit to lead. They've been planning it for weeks apparently. The leave of absence was just an excuse to gather support. Elena, I'm so sorry. 15 years. Her voice cracked. 15 years I gave that company, every hour, every day, every piece of myself. And they took it away. Where are you right now? Home, the penthouse. Are you alone? Yes. Marcus was already getting out of bed. I'm coming over. No, Marcus, no, you can't. Your daughter? My mother's here. She can stay with Amy. I'm not going to smoke, I promise. It's been almost a month. I'm not going to throw that away. I'm not worried about you smoking. Then what are you worried about? Marcus stopped moving. He stood in the middle of his dark bedroom, phone pressed to his ear. I'm worried about you being alone, he said. I'm worried about what you might do when you're alone. Elena was quiet. I'm not going to hurt myself, she said. If that's what you're thinking. Are you sure? The silence lasted too long. Elena, are you sure? I don't know. Her voice was barely a whisper. I've thought about it, before, when things got really bad. But I wouldn't. I'm coming over. Marcus, I'm coming over. Don't argue with me. Don't tell me to stay away. Just wait for me. Can you do that? Another pause. Okay, she said. I'll wait. Promise me. I promise. Marcus hung up and moved fast. He woke his mother, explained the situation in as few words as possible. She didn't argue. She just nodded and told him to go. The drive to Westwood Tower took 32 minutes. Marcus broke at least 4 traffic laws. He didn't care. The doorman recognized him and waved him through without a word. The elevator seemed to take forever. When the doors finally opened on the 42nd floor, Marcus ran. He didn't have his keycard anymore, so he knocked. The door opened almost immediately. Elena stood there in a wrinkled suit, the same clothes she must have worn to the board meeting. Her makeup was smeared. Her hair was a mess. But she was alive. You came, she said. Of course I came. He pulled her into a hug. Elena stiffened at first, surprised. Then she collapsed against him, her whole body shaking with sobs she'd been holding back. They took everything, she said into his shoulder. Everything I worked for. Everything I sacrificed for. It's all gone. Not everything. You don't understand. Without the company, I'm nothing. Marcus pulled back and held her at arm's length. Stop saying that. It's true. It's not true. It's never been true. He looked into her eyes. The company was something you built. It wasn't who you are. Then who am I? You're the woman who quit smoking after 15 years. You're the woman who asked for help when she didn't know how. You're the woman who's still standing even when everything is falling apart. Elena shook her head. That's not enough. It's everything, Elena. It's more than most people ever do. She pulled away from him and walked to the window. The city stretched out below them, glittering and indifferent. I don't know what to do, she said. For the first time in my life, I don't have a plan. I don't have a goal. I don't have anything to work toward. Marcus walked over and stood beside her. Maybe that's okay. How is that okay? Maybe you don't need a plan right now. Maybe you just need to figure out who you are without the company, without the pressure, without the constant need to perform. I don't know how to do that. Neither do I, but you could figure it out. Elena turned to look at him. You make it sound so simple. It's not simple, but it's possible. Marcus paused. How long has it been since you took a real break, not a leave of absence, not time off to recover from a crisis? Just A break. Time for yourself. I've never taken a break. Not in 15 years. Then maybe this is it. Maybe this is the break you needed. Getting fired isn't a break, Marcus. It's a failure. Is it, or is it an opportunity? Elena stared at him. When did you become an optimist? I'm not an optimist. I'm a realist. And the reality is that you're alive. You're healthy. You're 27 days clean. And for the first time in 15 years, you're free. Free from what? From everything. From the board. From the investors. From the pressure to be perfect. From the fear of losing what you built. He gestured at the penthouse around them. This place. This life. It was killing you. You said so yourself. So what, I'm supposed to be grateful they fired me? I'm not saying that. I'm saying maybe this isn't the end of everything. Maybe it's the beginning of something else. Elena was quiet for a long time. I don't know how to start over, she finally said. Neither did I. After Sarah died, I thought my life was over. I had a 5-year-old daughter, a mountain of debt, and no idea how to move forward. But I did. One day at a time. The same way you've been fighting this addiction. That's different. How? You didn't choose for Sarah to die. I made the choices that got me here. So what? You made mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. The question is what you do next. Elena wrapped her arms around herself. What if I can't do it? What if I try to start over, and I fail? Then you try again. You always say that. Because it's always true. Elena looked at him. Really looked at him with something in her eyes he hadn't seen before. Gratitude, maybe. Or something deeper. Thank you, she said. For what? For coming. For always coming when I need you. For not giving up on me, even when I gave up on myself. You didn't give up. You're still here. Barely. Barely counts. Elena smiled. It was small, fragile, but real. You know, she said, when I first met you, I thought you were just some guy who cleaned my apartment. I never imagined you'd end up being the most important person in my life. I'm not. Yes, you are. You're the only one who stayed. The only one who saw me. She paused. I don't know what I would have done without you. You would have figured it out. No, I wouldn't have. Her voice was certain. I would have kept smoking until my lungs gave out, or I would have done something worse. You saved my life, Marcus. I need you to understand that. Marcus didn't know what to say, so he said the only thing that felt true. You saved mine too. Elena frowned. How? After Sarah died, I went through the motions. I worked. I took care of Amy. I did what I was supposed to do. But I wasn't really living. I was just existing, waiting for time to pass. And now I feel like I'm doing something that matters, like my life has purpose beyond just surviving. He met her eyes. You gave me that, whether you meant to or not. Elena reached out and took his hand. We're quite a pair, she said. Yeah, we are. They stood there at the window hand in hand, watching the city lights flicker in the darkness. What happens now? Elena asked. I don't know. You don't have a plan. I never have a plan. I just keep showing up. That doesn't sound very efficient. Probably not, but it's worked so far. Elena laughed softly. It was the first real laugh he'd heard from her in weeks. Can you stay tonight? She asked. I have to get back to Amy. I know, She trailed off. I don't want to be alone. Marcus thought about his daughter, about his mother waiting at home, about all the times he'd chosen Elena over his family. But Elena's hand was trembling in his, and her eyes were red from crying, and she'd just lost everything she'd spent 15 years building. I can stay for a few hours, he said. Elena nodded. Thank you. They sat on the couch together the way they had that first week. They didn't talk much, They didn't need to. At some point, Elena fell asleep with her head on his shoulder. Marcus stayed awake watching the city, thinking about everything that had happened and everything that might happen next. He didn't know what the future held. For him, for Elena, for any of them. But for the first time in a long time, he felt like maybe, just maybe, things were going to be okay. His phone buzzed. A text from his mother. "Amy's awake. She's asking for you. But she's okay. Take your time." Marcus looked at Elena asleep beside him. Then he looked at his phone. 2 worlds. 2 people who needed him. But maybe he thought he didn't have to choose. Maybe there was room for both. He texted back. "Tell her I love her. I'll be home soon." Then he put his phone away and waited for the sun to rise. 3 months later, everything was different. Elena sold the penthouse. She didn't announce it, didn't make a press release. She just called a realtor, signed the papers, and walked away from the life she'd built on the 42nd floor. Marcus found out when she called him on a Tuesday afternoon. "I did something crazy," she said, "crazier than quitting smoking cold turkey." "Maybe. I sold the apartment." Marcus nearly dropped the phone. "You what?" "I couldn't stay there anymore. Every corner of that place reminded me of who I used to be. The person who hid on balconies and lied to everyone and slowly poisoned herself to death." "Where are you going to live?" "I bought a house. Small one. 3 bedrooms, a backyard. It's in Pasadena, 20 minutes from the city, but feels like a different world." Marcus didn't know what to say. The Elena he'd met 8 months ago would never have left that penthouse. She would have clung to it like a life raft, like proof of everything she'd accomplished. "Are you sure about this?" he asked. "No, but I'm tired of being sure. I was sure about everything for 15 years, and look where it got me." She paused. "I want to try something different. I want to try being uncertain." "That doesn't sound like you." "I know. That's the point." The house in Pasadena was nothing like the penthouse. It was old, built in the 1940s, with hardwood floors that creaked and windows that stuck. The kitchen was small. The bathrooms were outdated. The backyard was overgrown with weeds. But when Elena showed it to Marcus for the first time, she was smiling. "I know it needs work," she said, "but I figured that's the point. I need something to do with my hands. Something that isn't spreadsheets and board meetings." "You're going to fix this place up yourself?" "I'm going to try. How hard can it be?" Marcus looked at her manicured nails, her designer clothes, her complete lack of experience with anything resembling manual labor. "You've never held a hammer in your life." "There's YouTube. I can learn." He laughed. He couldn't help it. "What?" Elena asked. "Nothing. I just never thought I'd see the day when Elena Wright watched home improvement videos." "Elena Wright is dead. I'm just Elena now." She said it casually, but Marcus heard the weight behind the words. "How does that feel?" he asked. "Terrifying. Liberating. I can't decide which." "Maybe it's both." Elena looked around the empty living room at the dust motes floating in the afternoon light. "Maybe it is," she said. Marcus started coming to Pasadena on weekends. He told himself it was to help with the house. Elena needed someone who knew how to use power tools, someone who could fix the plumbing and patch the drywall. She was hopeless with anything mechanical. She'd nearly electrocuted herself trying to install a ceiling fan, and Marcus couldn't stand by and watch her destroy the place. But that wasn't the real reason. The real reason was Amy. The first time he brought his daughter to Elena's house, he was nervous. He didn't know how to explain who Elena was, or why they were spending Saturday afternoons at a stranger's house. But Amy didn't need an explanation. "This place is cool," she said, running through the empty rooms. "It's like a haunted house." "It's not haunted," Marcus said. "It could be. Old houses have ghosts." Elena appeared in the doorway holding a paintbrush. "If there are ghosts," she said, "they're welcome to stay, as long as they help with the painting." Amy looked at her with wide eyes. "Who are you?" "I'm Elena. I'm a friend of your dad's." Do you have any kids? No, just me. That's sad. Amy, Marcus said sharply, but Elena just laughed. You're right, she said. It is sad, but I'm working on it. Amy tilted her head. How do you work on being sad? Elena knelt down so she was eye level with the girl. You find people who make you happy, she said. And you spend time with them, even when it's scary, even when you're not sure how. Amy considered this. My mom died, she said. Marcus's heart clenched. I know, Elena said softly. Your dad told me. I'm very sorry. Daddy says she's in heaven, but I don't know if I believe in heaven. What do you believe in? Amy thought for a moment. I believe she's still here, sometimes. When I miss her a lot, I can feel her watching me. Elena's eyes grew wet. I think that's a beautiful thing to believe, she said. Amy smiled. I like you, she announced. Can I help paint? Elena looked at Marcus. He nodded. Sure, Elena said. But you have to promise not to get any on the floor. I can't promise that. Fair enough. Let's make a mess. They painted the living room together. Amy got more paint on herself than on the walls. Elena laughed more in that afternoon than Marcus had heard in months. And somewhere between the second coat and the cleanup, something shifted. They became a family. Not officially. Not in any way that made sense on paper. But in the ways that mattered: the Sunday dinners, the movie nights, the homework help, and bedtime stories. They became something real. Marcus's mother noticed. You're different, she said one evening after Amy had gone to bed. Different how? Lighter. Like you're actually living again instead of just surviving. I'm trying. Is it because of her, the woman? Marcus didn't answer immediately. He thought about Elena, about the way she'd changed, the way she'd fought, the way she'd torn down everything she'd built and started over from nothing. Partly, he said. But it's more than that. It's Amy. It's you. It's finally feeling like I'm where I'm supposed to be. His mother smiled. Sarah would be proud of you. You think so? I know so. She always said you were stronger than you believed. She was right. Marcus felt the familiar ache in his chest, the one that never quite went away when someone mentioned his wife. I still miss her, he said. Of course you do. You always will. Is it wrong that I'm happy again, that I'm moving forward? His mother reached across the table and took his hand. Marcus, happiness isn't betrayal. Sarah didn't want you to spend the rest of your life grieving. She wanted you to live, to raise Amy, to find joy wherever you could. She squeezed his fingers. Moving forward isn't forgetting. It's honoring what you had by building something new. Marcus didn't trust himself to speak. His mother stood up and kissed him on the forehead. I'm proud of you too, she said. In case I don't say it enough. Then she went to bed, and Marcus sat alone at the kitchen table, thinking about everything he'd lost and everything he'd found. 6 months clean. Elena marked the day with a small celebration at the house in Pasadena. Just the three of them, Marcus, Amy, and Elena, sitting in the newly finished living room with cake and sparkling cider. 6 months, Elena said, holding up her glass. I never thought I'd make it this far. I knew you would, Marcus said. Liar, you were terrified I was going to relapse every single day. Maybe, but I never stopped believing you could do it. Elena smiled. That's the same thing. No, it's not. Fear and faith can exist at the same time. Amy looked up from her cake. What does relapse mean? Marcus and Elena exchanged a glance. It means going back to something you're trying to stop, Elena said carefully. Like what? Like bad habits. Things that hurt you. Like biting your nails. Elena laughed. Sure, like biting your nails. Amy nodded seriously. I bite my nails sometimes, but I'm trying to stop. That's good. Trying is the most important part. Daddy says that too. Your daddy's pretty smart. Sometimes. Other times he's silly. Hey, Marcus protested. Amy giggled. It was a small moment, nothing profound, but Marcus felt it settle into his chest like a warm light. This, he thought. This is what happiness feels like. He'd forgotten, but he was starting to remember. The call came on a Thursday. Elena was in the backyard pulling weeds when her phone rang. She almost didn't answer. She'd gotten good at ignoring calls from numbers she didn't recognize, but something made her pick up. Ms. Wright. Speaking. This is Rebecca Chen. I'm the CEO of Meridian Health Systems. I don't know if you remember, but we met at a conference 3 years ago. Elena stood up, brushing dirt from her knees. I remember. You were trying to poach my head of engineering. Rebecca laughed. And you shut me down so gracefully, I almost didn't realize I'd been rejected. She paused. I've been following what happened with Wright Medical. I wanted to reach out. If this is a pity call, it's not. It's a job offer. Elena nearly dropped the phone. Excuse me. We're launching a new division focused on patient wellness software. Preventive care, mental health, integration, addiction support. I need someone who understands the healthcare tech space and isn't afraid to build something from scratch. You want me to work for you? I want you to run it. Full autonomy. Your own team. Your own vision. Rebecca paused. I've seen what you built at Wright Medical. I know you have more to give. Elena looked around her backyard at the weeds, the patchy grass, the house she'd been slowly bringing back to life. I'm not sure I'm the right person, she said. Why not? Because I'm not who I used to be. The Elena Wright who built Wright Medical, she doesn't exist anymore. Good. I don't want that Elena Wright. I want the one who walked away from everything and started over. That's the person I need. Elena was quiet for a long moment. Can I think about it? Of course. Take a week. But Elena, don't say no, just because you're afraid of going back to who you were. You're not that person anymore. You proved that. Rebecca hung up. Elena stood in her backyard, phone in hand, staring at nothing. She called Marcus that night. What do I do? She asked. What do you want to do? I don't know. Part of me wants to say yes. I miss building things. I miss having a purpose beyond pulling weeds and watching paint dry. But I'm scared. What if I go back and I become that person again? The one who couldn't survive without cigarettes. The one who sacrificed everything for success. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Can I tell you what I see? He said. Sure. I see someone who spent 6 months doing the hardest thing she's ever done. Someone who rebuilt her entire life from the ground up. Someone who found joy in small things, painting walls, cooking dinner, watching movies with a 9-year-old who asks too many questions. Elena laughed softly. Go on. The person I see isn't going to lose herself in a job. She's not going to go back to hiding on balconies and lying to everyone. She's not going to throw away everything she's fought for. How can you be so sure? Because I know you. The real you, and that person is stronger than the one who built Wright Medical. That person knows what matters. Elena felt tears prick her eyes. What if you're wrong? Then you'll figure it out. You'll call me at 3 a.m. and I'll talk you through it. That's what we do. Elena closed her eyes. You really think I should take the job? I think you should do whatever makes you feel alive. If that's building software, great. If that's pulling weeds, great. But don't let fear make the decision for you. When did you get so wise? I learned from someone. Who? My wife. She used to say that fear is just excitement without breath. So when you're scared, you breathe, and then you decide. Elena took a deep breath. I'm going to do it, she said. Do what? Take the job. Build something new. Try again. Yeah. But if I turn into a monster, you have permission to drag me out of the office and remind me what matters. Deal. Elena hung up the phone and sat in the silence of her house. Then she called Rebecca Chen back. I'm in, she said. 1 year later. Marcus stood in the audience at the Pacific Health Conference watching Elena walk onto the stage. She looked different now, confident, but calm, poised, but genuine. The sharp edges had softened. The desperate need to prove herself had faded. She stepped up to the microphone. "Good afternoon," she said. "For those of you who don't know me, my name is Elena. Just Elena. I used to run a company called Right Medical Systems. Some of you probably remember the headlines when I was removed as CEO." A murmur went through the crowd. "I'm not here to talk about that," Elena continued. "I'm here to talk about what happened after. About the hardest year of my life, and what I learned from it." She paused. "I was an addict, cigarettes, 15 years. I hid it from everyone, my board, my doctors, my investors. I was so afraid of being seen as weak that I slowly killed myself behind closed doors." The room was silent. "I almost died. Not from the cigarettes, not directly, but from the shame, the isolation, the belief that asking for help meant I was a failure." She looked out at the audience. "I was wrong. Asking for help isn't weakness. It's the bravest thing any of us can do." Marcus felt his chest tighten. "I'm standing here today because someone saw through the lies I told myself. Someone who had no reason to care, no obligation to help. He was just a man who cleaned my apartment. But he refused to look away when everyone else did." Elena's eyes found Marcus in the crowd. "He taught me that being human isn't a flaw, that vulnerability isn't weakness, that the things we think make us unworthy of love are actually the things that connect us to each other." She paused. "I'm 1 year clean today, 12 months, 365 days, and I'm not going to pretend it's been easy. There have been moments more than I can count when I wanted to give up, when the cravings hit so hard I couldn't see straight, when I wondered if all the fighting was worth it. But I kept going, because someone believed I could, because someone refused to let me face the darkness alone." She took a breath. "So that's my message today. To anyone in this room who's hiding something. To anyone who's struggling in silence. To anyone who thinks they're too broken, too far gone, too weak to change. You're not. You're exactly strong enough. You just need someone to remind you." She stepped back from the microphone. The applause started slowly, then built into a wave. People stood. They cheered. They wiped their eyes. Marcus didn't move. He just watched Elena. This woman who had been dying when he met her, who had fought her way back to life, who had rebuilt herself from nothing, and he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Pride. Not in himself. In her. In what they'd built together. After the speech, Marcus found Elena backstage. She was surrounded by people, conference organizers, journalists, admirers wanting to shake her hand. But when she saw him, she broke away. "You came," she said. "Of course I came." "You heard all that." "Every word." Elena's eyes searched his face. "I should have warned you. That I was going to talk about you. I didn't want to put you on the spot. You didn't use my name." "I know. But still." Marcus shook his head. "Elena, you don't need to apologize. What you said up there, it mattered. People needed to hear it. I just hope it helps someone." "It will. It already has." Elena smiled. It was the same smile he'd seen that first night when she finally let herself cry. Vulnerable, real, beautiful. "I couldn't have done any of this without you," she said. "Yes, you could." "No, I really couldn't." She reached out and took his hand. "You saved my life, Marcus. I know I've said it before, but I need you to understand how much I mean it." "I understand." "Do you?" "Because sometimes I think you don't realize what you did. You didn't just help me quit smoking. You taught me how to live, how to be honest, how to let people see me." Marcus squeezed her hand. "You taught me the same thing." "What do you mean?" "After Sarah died, I shut down. I went through the motions, but I wasn't really there. I was so focused on surviving, that I forgot how to live. And now, Marcus thought about the past year, the weekends in Pasadena, the dinners with Elena and Amy, the slow rebuilding of a life he thought was over. Now I'm here, he said, really here, for the first time in years. Elena's eyes glistened. So we saved each other. I guess we did. They stood there in the chaos of the conference holding hands, not saying anything. Finally, Elena spoke. Can I ask you something? Sure. What happens now? For us. Marcus knew what she was asking. They'd been circling it for months, this thing between them that was more than friendship, more than gratitude, more than two broken people leaning on each other. I don't know, he admitted. I've been scared to find out. Scared of what? Scared of ruining what we have. Scared of hurting Amy. Scared of moving on from Sarah. Do you think she'd want you to be alone forever? Marcus thought about his wife, about her laugh, her stubbornness, her fierce love for Amy, about the way she used to say that life was too short for regrets. No, he said. She wouldn't. Then what's holding you back? Marcus looked at Elena. At this woman who had come into his life by accident and changed everything. Who had shown him that it was possible to break and rebuild. That endings could become beginnings. Nothing, he said. Not anymore. Elena smiled. Good. Because I'm tired of pretending I don't feel what I feel. What do you feel? Like I finally found where I'm supposed to be. Marcus pulled her closer. Me too. In the background, the conference continued. People moved. Conversations hummed. The world kept spinning. But for Marcus and Elena, time stopped. They had found each other in the darkness. They had pulled each other into the light. And they were never going to let go. That evening, Marcus picked up Amy from his mother's house. How was the speech? His mother asked. Good. Really good. And Elena? Marcus smiled. She's good too. His mother studied his face. Then she smiled back. I'm glad, she said. You deserve to be happy, Marcus. I'm starting to believe that. On the drive home, Amy asked the question he'd been dreading and hoping for. Daddy. Yeah, baby. Are you and Elena going to get married? Marcus nearly swerved off the road. What makes you ask that? I don't know. You look at her the way you used to look at Mommy, in the pictures. Marcus felt his throat tighten. Would that bother you if Elena and I... No. Amy said it without hesitation. I like Elena. She's nice. And she makes you happy. She does. Then it's okay. Mommy would want you to be happy. She told me that. Marcus blinked. She told you. In a dream. Before she died. She said that when she went to heaven I had to take care of you. Make sure you smiled. Make sure you weren't sad all the time. Marcus couldn't speak. He pulled the car to the side of the road and turned to face his daughter. Amy, it's okay, Daddy. I know she's not coming back, but I think she sent Elena to us, to help. Marcus pulled his daughter into a hug. You are the smartest, kindest, most amazing person I've ever known, he said. I know. Mommy used to say that too. Marcus laughed through his tears. Of course she did. 6 months later. The wedding was small, just family and close friends. Elena wore a simple white dress. Marcus wore a suit he'd borrowed from his brother. Amy was the flower girl scattering petals with more enthusiasm than precision. They held the ceremony in Elena's backyard, the one she'd spent a year bringing back to life. The grass was green now, the flowers blooming, the house freshly painted. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, Amy raised her hand. I object to the cake being chocolate, she said. I wanted vanilla. Everyone laughed. Marcus had never felt so full. After the ceremony, Elena found him standing alone by the back fence looking up at the sky. What are you thinking about? She asked. Sarah. I was telling her about today. Elena slipped her hand into his. What did you tell her? That I found someone. That I'm happy. That Amy is okay. He paused. That I finally learned what she was trying to teach me. What was that? Marcus turned to face his wife. His new wife, the one who had saved him as much as he'd saved her. That love isn't about deserving, he said. It's about choosing, every day, even when it's hard, even when it hurts. Elena squeezed his hand. I choose you, she said. I choose you too. They stood there together watching the sun set behind the mountains. Inside the house, Amy was dancing with Marcus's mother. Music drifted through the open windows. Somewhere a bird sang. And Marcus Hill, the man who cleaned apartments, the widower, who thought his life was over, the father who almost lost himself in grief, finally understood what his wife had meant. Life wasn't about being perfect. It wasn't about having all the answers. It was about showing up, every day, for the people who mattered. It was about seeing the truth, even when it was ugly, even when it was painful, and refusing to look away. It was about choosing love over fear, again and again and again. Marcus looked at Elena, at Amy, at the life he'd built from the ashes of the one he'd lost. And he knew with absolute certainty that this was exactly where he was meant to be. Sometimes the thing that saves you isn't a miracle or a cure. It's just another person who sees you in the darkness and refuses to let you face it alone. That's the whole truth, and the truth is enough.